Hey traders, great to be here with you. This is Ben Leto and I'm from Indicator Warehouse, and we are going to go through a demonstration and a little recap of today's activity on Raptor and in LettoChannels, and I hope you can stay tuned for the whole thing, and let's get started. All right, so our game plan today is to take a look at Raptor and LettoChannels, but I also wanted to ask a few questions. I'd love to hear from you again. If you have any Q&A, please leave them down below at our YouTube comment section. Be exciting and fun to dialogue with you there. I will definitely answer each one of them directly. You'll be talking to me, developer and trader and support person. So feel free. We'd love to hear from you. Get your questions answered. Leave them below. But a question I have for you, and we've discussed this in a couple of episodes, is what made the difference for you in your trading career? One of the answers that was given, and probably one that's been on your mind, or something you've run into if you've traded for any length of time, is over trading. You need to be more selective. Yes, I know how strong the urge is to be in the market whenever the market's moving because somebody's making money. Why don't I just hop on and see if this one works? That is a recipe for disaster, right? Overtrading is something you need to combat. So one of the focuses of reducing the number of trades you take is by choosing for quality and not quantity. You want a quality relationship with friends and family. You want quality business deals. Don't go for quantity. That is a recipe for disaster. You need to have an edge in your trading. So never ever give up. Seek the edge and trade the edge. So we do have some tools at Indicator Warehouse that cover that. Help you to determine historically, is this a good time to trade? Is this the right trade to make in the right direction? So we're going to go over some of that today using our Rapid BackTester that's available in Raptor. And also we'll look at it with LettoChannels as well. There is a coupon available. Feel free to use it anytime. Ben30 will get you 30% off anything in our store. I would love to hear from you in the comments below. What is your favorite Indicator Warehouse system? Or what would you like to see covered in a future episode of our demo day? Drop it in. We want to know from you. Want to hear from you. We're also going to take a look at Raptor version 3.1, and we're going to look at its trades, recent trades here in the ES, the CL, and in gold. Love to take a look at that. Raptor did pretty well in those markets today. We had a good move in the right direction, went half the way to our target, and it reversed. And it did end up for a stop out, but we'll take a look at that. You know what? They can't all be winners. And lastly, we do take a look at LettoChannels. You're all familiar with Bollinger Bands, right? Well, we have got an improvement, a super Bollinger Band, if you will. Bollinger Bands have a weakness. They are a lagging indicator. What if we developed a Bollinger Band that's not lagging, one that's actually ahead of its time? Yeah, LettoChannels is the best improvement to Bollinger Bands that we've seen since John Bollinger released them back in the, I don't even know what that was, 80s or 90s. All right, let's jump in and take a look. This is Raptor. On the ES today, we're looking at a 4 and 4 mean Renko chart of Raptor. Now, I mentioned we did have a nice number 3 signal that appeared right here. I mean, the market did go flat a little bit. It's been kind of a slow morning, actually. We did have a number 3 signal print, went long. We got 50, almost 50% of the way there to target, and it moved against us. Not bad if you were trailing, but it did move against us. So we had one trade today in the ES. The number 2 and the number 1 signals would have played out well for you. We don't normally trade those, but definitely an option for you. Now, one of the reasons why I brought up this chart is it's a demonstration what it might mean to reduce the number of trades in your system. Backtesting is an excellent way to do that, and that's what Rapid BackTester provides for us today. You can see on the left-hand side, these are our backtester results. They print right on the chart for easy viewing. You don't have to go to a different monitor or a different window in Ninja. And we are taking a look. We're evaluating every trade that occurs between 9:30 Eastern Time and 15:50, which is what, 3:50 Eastern Time. How many days are on here? I've got 15 days loaded. Over the last 15 days, we have seen Tuesdays and Wednesdays are not a good day to trade. Tuesday, we've only won one trade out of 7. And Wednesdays, we've had 0 winners out of 3. Why would we want to trade on these days? I don't know. I don't think you want to. I recommend going to play golf, going out to lunch, going to play pickleball, go out, go shopping. There's no reason to trade during those days. Historically, we see Tuesdays and Wednesdays are the worst days to trade. Thursday's not much better. It's a break even for us. But Fridays are excellent and Mondays are doing really well too. That is something you want to consider trading this system. Over the last 24 trades here at the top, we see we've netted $500. So we're averaging $21 a trade, about profit factor of 1.2. Getting rid of these Tuesdays and Wednesdays, let's see. Let's see what that does to our P&L. Way we do that in Raptor is we just scroll down to here. I'm going to get rid of Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So I want to just trade Monday, Thursday, and Friday. So we can put the days of the week right in here. Hit OK, and let's see what that yields for us. What kind of improvement comes along? That's important. Again, these are all wonderful. So we would have netted $1,250 on 14 trades and profit average trade of $89 a trade. Drawdown was only 500. Not bad. Pretty sharp. So I want to make an important point here. Back-tested results are not a guarantee of future performance, and you want to keep that in mind. And these back-tested figures here are very rough estimates. I'm not going to say they're exact in any way. We do not do a tick-by-tick entry and exit on these trades. We are looking at the close of the bar and against the targets as limits orders. So our back-tested results are very much a thumbnail sketch of our systems, okay? So you get a good rough sketch at how the back-tested would have. Now I want to look here on crude oil. Crude oil using the Raptor. Not very often do we look at crude. So let's take a look at it now. This is a 500 bar volume bar chart of crude oil. It's doing pretty well. We're up $3,760 on almost 100 trades. The average trade is $38. Profit factor is 1.4. You can take a look really quickly. We have color-coded these entries. Green means it's a profitable day overall. When red or magenta means it's a loss. So had we excluded Wednesdays and Thursdays from our analysis on the last, I think I've got 50. No, what have I got here? 30 days of history loaded. Just don't trade Wednesdays and Thursdays. It'll improve your numbers and you'll get more sleep. Also, consider getting rid of 8:30 to 9:30. Why don't we do that? We're going to yank out Wednesdays and Thursdays. So Monday, Tuesday, Friday are the only days we want to take a look at trading. Monday, Tuesday, and Friday. How does that affect our crude trades? Pretty darn well. Pretty darn well. Okay, so we're at $4,300 in net profit. So we've gained what, about $400? 57 trades, so fewer trades. And our only losing time periods are 11:30, 12:30 area. So if you just want to trade in the early morning, 9:30 is a great time to trade, 10 o'clock. Raptor does really well on crude. All right, last market I want to look at here is our gold market. Raptor does really well on gold Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. here we go. We've got profit factor of 1.3, average trade is $38, $4,600 gain on 121 trades. And I think we're only looking at 20 days of history, 30 days of history. Okay. All right. I hope that's helpful. This is Raptor. Again, this is Raptor 3.1. If you haven't bought it yet, feel free to log into your member site and do that. We can work out a great deal for you. Again, 30% off on any product in our inventory. Use the coupon code BEN30. We'll get you set up. Okay, I want to shift over and take a look at one of our, I think, the coolest indicator to hit the market in decades. Yeah, in decades. Bollinger Bands. Again, everyone knows what those are. They're pretty much on every platform in the world, but only on NinjaTrader do we have LettoChannels. You know that markets tend to oscillate around a moving average, and the moving average tends to move slowly toward an oscillating market. How do you calculate overbought and oversold? Well, isn't it interesting that markets do revert to the moving average? We can see that right here. Again, we're touching the moving average as we move back and forth along here, up to the news event. So it was obviously a quiet day. But if you look at historically and you measure the distance of price against the moving average historically, every day in history on this chart, we can find out how far does that price usually move from the MA. Very simple to do. And that is what LettoChannels plots on the chart for you. Historically plotting how far has it moved and what is the average location of it in relation to the moving average. Those two pieces of information give you an uncanny edge in the market. Take a look at this example. What we've got here is the yellow moving average line, and you've got up here a red dotted line and a green dotted line. These dotted lines are the 10% line. That means 10% of the time prices exceeded that level. 10% of the time prices go below the green level. 90% of the time market action is contained between the moving average and that line. Okay? So it's a 10% line. It's really a 10 percentile line, okay? So when price does pierce below that green level, you know that it's only 10% of the time has price moved below that green level. Fascinating. Time to look for a buy. Now that's not the only decision we make if it goes below or above those levels. We also see here these green histo lines. They will print because in history, the market on average has a tendency to be above the MA. So this green histogram, it ends roughly right about here, or 1040, and it started way back on right about here. So from 8 o'clock till 1040, the micro NASDAQ has a tendency to be above the MA. Now, for that entire period today, it was below it. It was below the MA. It's a great time to think about buying. Now, here we had a little weakness. The market just pushed down into into these levels. So, in the lead up to the open, it's just a weakness. There's not too much tendency to be above the moving average. But here you see the shoot up in that green histogram. If you add together the oversold location of being in the below the 10% line and the natural tendency here for market to be above the MA, we want to be a buyer. And that's what was a great time to get in long. We also print these green, small little green dots, and that is a internal CCI indicator. We're looking for being overbought or oversold using the CCI. So it's a cycle indicator. Green will start printing when we're oversold, and we'll get magenta dots up here, example, when we are overbought. Here's another example. This is at 6:20 in the morning. We are in our above the 10% red line, looking to short this. And the market has a tendency to be above the MA during this period, so the average is above the MA, but it does drop off. You can see that right here, right? It's dropping off to a low. So there's a tendency for the market to move toward the average or even go below it, as these red histograms show. And that is what the market did exactly. We hit our overbought levels, hit it first, retraced pretty strongly, hit it again. CCI indicates a overbought level. And had you gone short, perhaps on a breakdown of a support level, it would have been a great time to do it. Otherwise, another way to do it is when we retouched that low. So we move down below structure, we move up into structure, and right here is a great time to think about going short. So that is LettoChannels on the NASDAQ. One of my favorite markets to look at, though, guys, is gold. Not that one. This here is LettoChannels on gold. All right, well, we had a big move down here. Gold has been topsy-turvy here in December of 2024. Gold, we didn't quite reach our oversold level. We do have cycle dots printing, and we have a strong tendency for it to be above the MA during that period. Would have been a great time to go long. At least think about long. Why would you want to think about going short during this position? So right there, knowing the tendency for it to be above the MA, knowing that we are near the 10 percentile dot line, there's really no reason to go short. I would not be thinking short as a high probability move. Now you could have scalped it here, perhaps, if you're nimble, but why? I would look for this market to put a bottom in, and it does put a bottom in here. We do a nice 50% retracement down to this level. That's a roughly 50% level here, right? I'm going to say 60% retracement, and that's where we move up from. So something to think about going into there. We do almost hit the overbought area here, but there's really a general tendency for it to be above the MA. I wouldn't go short here. I mean, you can scalp it perhaps, right? That's what LettoChannels gives you right there. So we have a smart Bollinger Band. We have a smart Bollinger. I was looking at copper today. I like to look at the metals. Get me out of the equity futures. Here's one setup that occurred at 8:30. This is a golden setup in my estimation. We know that the market doesn't get up here very often. At 8:30 in the morning, it rarely is above that far above the moving average. It hit it solidly. We have a tendency for copper to be below the MA. Gosh, from 8:54 all the way up until the end of the day. This is a 3-minute chart, so it's a little bit more compressed. If you see a tendency for market to be below the MA and you're in the pretty much strongly overbought area, think about going short. Think about going, at least don't think about going long. Why would you do that, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't see a reason to go long. Here's another example. We are below the MA. We finally hit the oversold area down here, but the tendency has been below the MA historically. We'd be very reticent to go long. And the market just fizzled, right? We had a good strong push downward. This one you might have considered, but it was a short-lived tendency to be up. We really You could have scalped in here perhaps, but let's just consider that something you'd want to stay away from. The tendency is to be above the MA here. We start just seeing a downfall, probably a chance to go short in this area. You wouldn't want to go, be holding these positions too long. It's just a strong move downward. All right, guys, who wants to trade silver? Silver is a beefy contract, right? Now here's an interesting setup. We are above the overbought levels. We're seeing a strong tendency for the market to be below the 50 is a 100 period MA. Print our dots here, our diamonds, when we hit the overbought level and oversold level. And this is a great move in silver. That's a solid move in silver. If you were nimble, you could have reversed this. Be very quick to look for hitting your stop. But a good breakout upward coming into a region that's tending to be above the MA is a smart idea. There's something, it would be a little bit early because in the future here, in the near future, there was a tendency at 224 to be below the MA. You start seeing at about 2 o'clock, we're above the overbought levels and we come into a double top, perfect double top, and we sell off into all right, guys, I hope this was helpful. I really enjoyed being with you today. If you have any questions, anything that we've covered, feel free to drop them in the comments. Feel free to email me. My email address is support@indicatorwarehouse.com. Any comments, questions, go ahead and place them in the comments below in this YouTube video. We would love to answer them for you. Again, it's been a pleasure chatting with you, recapping today's events in Raptor and LettoChannels. God bless you all. Have a beautiful day.